evening. My name is Jennifer McNair, and I'm here to talk to you today about what I believe to be the best area of the country in which to live. Now, I have an interesting perspective on this, which is why I chose this topic. I was born and raised in what we will lovingly call the Deep South. I was born in extreme southern Mississippi, and I lived there until the middle of my high school years, in which time I moved to Tennessee with my family. And we lived in Tennessee. I lived there until I married, and I'm married and moved to join my husband in Virginia, in about an hour from Washington, D.C. And we lived there for about a year, and we moved from Virginia to South Carolina, right on the North and South Carolina border. We lived there for about 5 years, and we moved from there to Missouri, in the middle of the country. And we lived there for about a year, and we got the opportunity to move back to Tennessee. So we moved back to just not far from Nashville, Tennessee, and we lived there. When we lived there, my husband traveled quite extensively for business, and so sometimes, because we homeschooled our children, the kids and I would go if he was going to be somewhere fun for a while. So we spent about 6 months outside of Boston, Massachusetts, and then we spent about a year in Riverside, California. And we also spent some time in Michigan and Wisconsin during that time, but not long periods of time. And then we went back to our home in Tennessee. And from Tennessee, we moved to Texas, right on the edge of the desert in the heart of Texas. We moved from Texas to Kentucky, where we lived for several years. And then we moved a couple of years ago to where we are now in Florida. So we have lived in a lot of different areas of the country, and have an interesting perspective on what makes somewhere a really great place to live. And so I boiled that down into just a few factors. First of all is the weather. Then we looked at some economic factors as far as like the cost of living. And we looked at the diversity of the geography and diversity as far as different ways to live in an area. And those are the things that I considered important. So the first of those is the weather. And some areas of the country are cold a lot of the times, and some are really hot a lot of the times. And I like to get away from either one of those and have a good rounded weather. And so I looked at Current Results, which is a research, news, and science facts website. They have a list of the top 10 states with the perfect year-round weather, or with the best year-round weather. And Tennessee, Kentucky, North, and South Carolina are all on that list in the top 15. And what they considered perfect weather was clear skies 60% of the time, highs in from 63 to 86, 7 months out of the year, and 60 inches of rain or less per year. And so this area of the country comes really close to that, and that's one of the reasons I would consider what I call the Mid-South. Tennessee, Kentucky, Southern Virginia, North Carolina, and this little bit of South Carolina here to be the perfect place to live. Not only in this area do you have really good day-to-day weather, but you also have 4 very distinct seasons. You have spring, when the daffodils and the trees start blooming and the air is starting to warm up, and you have those really great days. And then you have summer. You have a few months where it's really hot. You may have 90-degree days, and those are good days to go to the pool and take the kids to the beach and those kinds of things. And then you have the fall, when the leaves on the trees turn different colors in fall, and it starts to get a little chilly, and you get to wear long sleeves and sweaters and that kind of thing. And then you have the winter, where about 3 or 4 times a year in the winter in this area it will snow. And when the most wonderful thing happens when it snows in that area, it's like the whole world shuts down, because they don't have the equipment to clean the roads. So the kids don't go to school, and the church closes, and sometimes the business you work at will close, and so you get to have a short time of being snowed in and having a good time doing something completely different from your average routine. That's one of my favorite parts about this area. So the weather in this area makes it a really great place to live. Also, the cost of living in this area makes it a good place to live. TLC, the Learning Channel, has a list of the top 10 states with the lowest cost of living, and Tennessee ranks number 1 on that list, Kentucky ranks number 8, and North and South Carolina rank right in the middle. So the cost of living, the cost of those everyday necessities that you have to have, is low in this area compared to most of the rest of the country, which makes you have a little more disposable income to do what you want to do with, and the job opportunities in these states are also good. So it makes it economically a good place to live. Another thing that makes it a good place to live is the diversity of the geography in this area. If you're on the far west side of Tennessee, you're actually in the delta of the Mississippi River. So you've got the river itself, which is a really great, kind of has a culture all of its own. And then you have the delta area, which is that flat land, the beautiful farmland you can see for miles at a time. Just a beautiful area. And it becomes hilly as you head east, and you get into the Appalachian Mountains where you have peaks of around 7,000 feet. And then you kind of work out of that and back into the flatland here where you've got on the east, you've got the ocean. So you've got beaches and you've got barrier islands and places to snorkel and those kind of things. So huge diversity here. And that offers some really great things, not just a change of scenery, but you can snow ski, you can snorkel, you can rock climb, you can do all sorts of different things. You can go caving and spelunking, you can do all sorts of really interesting things in this area. Another thing I like about this area is you've got these little tiny small towns, you've got larger farming communities, you've got small cities like Raleigh, North Carolina and Greenville, South Carolina, which are on Market Watch's best small towns in America to live. And you've got big cities like Lexington and Nashville that have all the cultural advantages of theater and arts and that kind of thing that go along with that. So you can live in so many different ways, and you can have so many different opportunities and so much different weather that I think this area of the country offers just the perfect place to live and to raise a family and to really enjoy life in a way that you can't in some other parts of the country. So I would encourage you to visit there, spend some time there, and maybe you'll agree with me. And I hope I end up there before it's all over. Thanks.